Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Taco Tuesday edition of The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, he does not. My name is Mike P. Morski. I will be your co-host for the day. I'm the co-host from the East Coast. That's the East Coast is the coast with the most because I am the co-host with the most here on this post-shot show week. Getting started, getting back into it, Craig. How are you doing today?
I am doing excellent, but I will be doing even better once we, enjoy our, Taco Tuesday theme song.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity, yum.
Sour cream.
Yum, yum, yummity, yum, yum. Yes.
With sour cream.
Gotta love tacos, Taco Tuesday. Gotta love the Taco Tuesday theme song. It is the
I have
bomb.
not had dinner yet, and I have just decided what I'm having. I am having tacos.
As if it were in doubt. As if it were in doubt. By the way, folks, want to let you know, we apologize about not having the show yesterday. Obviously, the post-shot show reset up and all of that. You guys have no idea how much it takes to tear down the entire thing, the entire apparatus, get all the technology reset back up so that we can be in place and ready to go. And yesterday for at least me was an epic fail.
Yeah, listen, it's literally the tearing down of two studios, bringing them together in a third location, merging those studios into one, trying to get them to work, and then taking them down and moving them back again. Oh, and don't forget, there's what's that other thing? Sleep. Yeah, that's it.
Sleep.
Which
which by the way, you did not get at Chacho.
Oh, and there's no sleep to be had at SHOT Show. And if you
No.
if you have sleep at SHOT Show, you're not enjoying SHOT Show.
You are not enjoying SHOT Show. That is just kind of it. And anyway, but you know
can't
what,
miss it.
Mike, we survived.
You can't miss it. Yeah. Yeah, I did. Let's see. I got home a day later than you, and all day Monday is gone. I'm not even sure what happened to it. It's just gone. It's gone. I thought today was the Manic Monday show.
Well, you know what? I was watching. So I got back Friday evening. I had my granddaughter all day Saturday, which we call her Hurricane Jane, which tells you how busy of a day that was. And then we had a wedding and a reception on Sunday. So, 2 full days. And then, oh, by the way, there was a bunch of work waiting for me yesterday. And then there was the whole, oh, yeah, by the way, you need to set up your year again.
Yeah, I got back late Sunday night, late Saturday, early Sunday morning, about 2-3 in the morning.
Wow.
And then got up around 9 or 10. After crashing for a couple hours, came out, said hi to everybody, and about noon, I was like, "All right, good night." And they're like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "Going to bed." It's like it's noon. You just got up. I'm like,
to bed.
Yeah, I've only made up for Thursday so far. I've still got to make up for Monday through Wednesday.
That there be the way it be, sir. That there be the way it be.
Yep.
Anyway, let's go ahead and let's get into today's news. So, is America headed to war with Russia? Or let me clarify, is Ukraine headed to war with Russia or NATO or the Western civilization? One would wonder, seeing how after on Friday, the president mentioned that, if it's anything more than a minor incursion into the Ukraine, then we'll have to take a look at it. That set off a whole bunch of stuff. And now you've got not just the Ukraine, but you've got the United States, you've got NATO, you've got a bunch of folks who are even, quite frankly, now even the president of the United States, who are talking tough about what we're going to be doing as we get ready to decide what we're going to be doing going into dealing with them, the potential incursion from them into into the Ukraine. Now, Mike, you're a military man. Is there any such thing as a minor incursion?
Well, it depends on who's doing the incursioning, right? Uh, if you're on the receiving end or the giving end, that depends, right? Um, the no, absolutely not. Any incursion is a huge incursion. Our military is not ready for this. We're still in reset mode, rearm after coming off of two large wars. Could we defend ourselves at home right now? Absolutely, we could. Could we take on a large overseas mission for any length of time? No, we restructured our forces in Europe during the war on terror, anticipating that we'd leave large military bases behind in Afghanistan and or Iraq. But we know how that ended up. So all of our forces in Germany are gone. Most of them anyway. There's some small pockets throughout the rest of the former Warsaw Pact that have now become our allies. But there's nothing like we had before, and nothing in the area that we could do to bring this back. Now, remember, if we were to go into a place like Russia or Ukraine, this would be a giant armored force that would have to go in there, and we don't have that now. All we have is the light fighters from Afghanistan and Iraq. Remember, and it's a flaw, and I've said this since day one of my involvement in the military. Our military always trains for the last war, not the next one.
Right. Well, and I think that we don't necessarily it eventually there will need to be troops on the ground, and I don't know that it necessarily needs to be our troops or that it will be our troops. Part of the problem is they haven't really made a case as to the American people as to why this is some place where we should potentially send troops. I think that's one big mistake that they've made. I think the whole minor incursion statement was incredibly not very well thought out, and I don't know that it was necessarily in his notes. But we all know that Joe Biden, whenever he goes off script or even when he's on script, he has tend to say very, very stupid things. But I think that statement has pretty much is what has encouraged Putin to provide the show of force that he has. And we've got to do something, whether it's providing armaments, whatever it is, to show that that we are serious when we say don't do it.
Yeah, the American people are all about that. The American people want nothing to do with this because all the American people know about the Ukraine is that's where Joe Biden and his kids get their millions of dollars from they're dealing with the Ukrainian gas and oil companies. So the American people are tainted, and it doesn't even matter to me what side of the aisle you're on, which party you're in. They are tainted when it comes to the Ukraine, and they want nothing to do with it.
Yeah, well, there you go, and it'll be very interesting to check out and to address. Moving right along. Our next story is MSNBC and their push on weapons of war. Now, Mike, this was an interesting one. MSNBC, they were doing a story and they were talking about politics and campaigns, right? And in this conversation about quote unquote campaigns, a commentator named Tiffany Cross, who is known for saying very, very stupid things, decided to chime in about weapons of war for democracy and politics. Now, here I want to go ahead and share this video, let you guys check out what she had to say real quick. Okay, we're not hearing the video. Okay. Anger and frustration. Hold on a second. I can set it so that we can hear the video. Give me uno momento, por favor. Go ahead and chime in real quick, Mike, while I set that video.
She's not new to putting her foot in her mouth, so it's always interesting to hear what she has to say. If you've got the time to bang your head against the wall, so we'll take a moment and let Craig reset. Like we said, it's all of the everything, internal resettings,
right.
external resettings.
Let me go ahead and give it a try here real quick. See if it's working. Okay.
Ooh, I could hear it. Okay.
So this was my first time trying to share the video uh, from the website. I probably should have just downloaded it and posted it. I probably should just download it and posted it. But anyway, the point of this was during the conversation, she talks about everyone needs to pick up the weapons of war for democracy, right? In other words, because they're arguing that if Democrats lose this election, democracy is gone in the United States. If they lose the midterms, democracy is gone. And so now they're talking about weapons of war. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but starting to talk about picking up weapons of war and elections and all of that. I seem to recall that there was an impeachment hearing that someone is being held. They want to hold him an individual criminally liable for utilizing language that is not even a tenth as inflammatory as the language that she is using here. I'm sorry, but is it just me? Or is there a bit of hypocrisy going on here?
Well, of course there is, Craig. Listen, Democrats use the call for nuclear weapons against people in this country. So what's the difference between calling for some weapons of war as opposed to nuking people? Let's do it. As far as Democrats define weapons of war, those are Class 3 firearms. Those are full auto machine guns. And if she's saying it's time for us to go get Class 3 full auto machine guns, if she's given permission, if I could just get that in writing from her, I'll go get some right now. I'll go pick some up. We'll add them to the collection, and we'll have them ready to go to the range anytime anybody wants to go hang out and maintain proficiency.
Well, the thing is, and keep in mind that use of military terms or terms of war are first of all, it is a classic tool of the Marxist left. And I just want to be very clear. Even though they claim to be anti-war, they use war terminology very often because the whole thing is they see, whether it's in policy, whether it's in media, whether it's in cultural values, they see this as a war, right? And they have to use that to evoke the sort of emotion to get people to follow them because the policy's not on their side. All right. People don't agree with them on the policy. So that's how they utilize those sorts of terms to get people excited. Now, when Republicans do the same thing, then we are accused of inciting violence. What I don't understand is how is it that people on the left aren't pointing to language by people like Tiffany Cross and identifying that she is seeking to evoke violence in our elections, right? And by the way, people act like the left is completely, utterly incapable of violence. You notice how we haven't had any hearings about the violence that followed the election of Donald Trump in 2016. Because there was violence. Maybe there wasn't what you saw at the Capitol on January 6th, but that happened in many other places. That actually happened. But you don't hear about that. And by the way, that violence was incited by people like Hillary Clinton, by people like Stacey Abrams, by a bunch of different leftists, elected politicians, Maxine Waters, all of them are saying things that incite violence, but you don't see the mainstream media saying the same things. Instead, though, when Donald Trump says, go down to the Capitol and peaceably make your voice heard, that's considered inciting violence.
Absolutely right. Listen. There was a lot more violence after the Trump got elected than there was at the insurrection. It just didn't occur on one day in one place. It occurred everywhere around the country. How many times we got to see the videos of those whining women? That it's the end of the world, right? And that they took to the streets and overturned cars and did all that kind of nonsense. And it led right into the acceptable behavior when dealing with the government and law enforcement. It just, it led the way for 4 years. The violence and an insurrection attitude, came from the Democrats and their loss in 2016 election. It's just, and they want to blame us for it,
Exactly. We're the ones that are to blame. And ultimately it comes down to this. And I forget which liberal commentator I was reading. I think it was Matt Taibbi who was commenting on this. He said, look, when you allow violence to be, when its violence is considered reasonable for a reasonable way in which to seek political redress, when you allow chaos to be acceptable, you cannot get upset when all of a sudden the people who disagree with you engage in the same tactics, right?
Yep.
Even though I believe that January 6th was a runoff, a one-off, when you allowed what happened in the summer of 2020, how can you not be surprised when there is anger and violence on the other side? When you let it
Yep.
go, and I learned this in sports, right? If you're playing in a basketball game, right, and you're letting one side just foul continuously, the other side is going to ramp up their physical play because they figure those are the rules of the game. So you can't get mad when you've gotten away with when one side's gotten away with, when your side's gotten away with all this violence, when all of a sudden people get angry at the other side. You cannot get mad when the other side uses inflammatory language if you've been using it the whole time yourself.
Yep.
Just saying.
Very true.
Just
Very
saying.
true.
All right. Let's move from weapons of war to the war on toy guns. That's right. The state of Illinois is actually introduced a piece of legislation, or in their legislature has been introduced a piece of legislation that would actually ban the possession of, sale of, manufacturing of any sort of BB gun or imitation or firearm that can reasonably be perceived to be an actual firearm unless certain circumstances are present. And in the bill, they're going to outline what those situations are. But basically what this is, Mike, is this is a fear of guns manifesting in a war on toy guns. Now, I'm just trying to figure this out. What is the reason or the rationale behind something this stupid?
Democrats, right?
What?
It's Democrats, right?
Democrats, right? Pretty much that's it. Pretty much Democrats is the reason and the rationale for this particular bill, because we all know that toy guns are a menace. Now, one could look and say, well, maybe the incident with Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old who was shot by law enforcement officers, the 12-year-old who pointed a toy gun at officers, looked like a real gun, and they wound up taking his life. My point is that if that young man had been taught respect for firearms, and the danger of pointing something that looks like a firearm at law enforcement, maybe, just maybe, that shooting would have never occurred.
Yeah, listen, it has nothing to do with the gun itself, right? It has everything to do with the respect and the training of the firearm and of the community and of law enforcement and your elders and everything else. It does not matter to me. You teach the kids that these are toy guns. Don't go treating them like they're real guns. You can use your toys, but you use them in a controlled environment. Use them over here. Use them in this little piece of playground where we're playing, army together or whatever it happens to be. That's fine. You don't walk around with these guns at 2 a.m. tucked in your waistband as a toy gun. All right. It's an idiot move. It's an idiot move. That's how you get shot. That's how you get killed. Here, quick story, Craig. I know a guy. Okay. I know a guy, who his boss won't let him have firearms at work. All right. He won't let him have his firearms at the job. And it's a place that's a customer service job, people coming in and out all day long. So he has an AK-47, all right, the civilian version, single shot AK-47. And he's painted the slant break on it, the muzzle tip on it, orange. Because if it says an orange tip on it, that means it's a toy. And it can't be used, it's just a toy. So the boss thinks it's a toy that's sitting there at work that the guy just uses as a toy, not realizing that he has an AK-47 to defend himself with.
Well, now, so imagine that. Imagine criminals walking down the streets with ARs, with handguns, with orange tips on the end. Real.
Which is why the exact point, it doesn't matter if it has an orange tip or not on the end. They all must be treated respectfully and equally as if they're firearms. And you must respect the firearm. You must respect law enforcement. You must respect everything that has to do with education concerning firearms.
Well, once again, it is incredibly stupid when you start to think about all of this stuff and the possibilities and the dangers. And how about, like I said, how about just teach people respect for firearms? Everybody, whether you want, I think firearms safety, basic firearm safety ought to be taught to everybody, whether you own a firearm or not. That way, if you ever engaged with one, you ever come across one, you know what not to do.
Same way we say just say no to drugs or whatever other campaign you've got. You want to give awareness out there rather than, oh, it's a political issue. I don't want you teaching my kids about sex or drugs or guns.
Right. But, try and convince them of some common sense and, well, not going to happen.
Right. Exactly right.
Speaking of common sense. All right. So you notice all of our stories kind of have a war theme. Well, this one is really about the war on wokeness, right? The war on political correctness. And, there is no more, or at least there has been no more American iconic individual or superhero in the world than Superman. Well, those of you who follow comics, and I don't profess to be one who has, I read them when I was a kid. I enjoy all the DC and the Marvel movies that are based on those comic book heroes as they've been brought to life. But there's been a big change with DC Comics in that they are gone a long way to try and become incredibly woke. And they've taken the number one icon of DC, of their DC, of that whole world, and they've made him woke, and that would be Superman. Now, the interesting thing is well, let me just share with you a couple of the ways in which he has become woke. And in a reading of this article, there are a couple of things. So first of all, they've replaced Superman with his son. So they replaced Clark Kent with his son, Jonathan Kent, as Superman. And they have made him attracted to men. As you can see right here, he is now homosexual, which, by the way, is not where the wokeness stops, because they went on to include the fact they went on to change his saying. His iconic motto, "Truth, Justice, and the American Way," was changed to "Truth, Justice, and a Better Tomorrow," in order to fit a better worldview. So a better tomorrow. But then finally, they decided that they were going to make him a climate justice, a climate activist. So now you have Superman, who is a climate activist, and that you can see right here. Here he is basically petitioning, look, school strike for climate, because Superman is super woke. And what's interesting, Mike, is this comic has basically been an utter fail. I mean, we're talking sales have gone into the dump, gone into the toilet for Superman, because people who read comic books just aren't interested in wokeness. They aren't interested in a woke Superman.
Yeah, and people that read comic books are 12, okay, at the most. All right, you've got your collectors, obviously, that want them, and adults used to want them also, but these are not canon anymore. And what do I mean by canon? They don't align with the current universes that you see in the movie theater, whether it be DC and Marvel. So if you see it in the comic book, it does not mean it applies to the, that you're watching, your Superman on TV or your Batman. It's out there. Nobody's paid attention to these for a while, and I think now it's almost like, look what we're doing now. Come on, look at us now. You can't not look at us anymore. They've gone way, way, way outside just to try and garner any readership at all. So, I don't. But it's
Mike,
ridiculous. It's a waste of time, and
it's beyond just that. It is literally because once again, if they were really trying to garner more folks, they would probably be doing something different. What they're attempting to do is this is attempt at indoctrination. It is attempt at a
like I said, this is of the 12-year-olds. That's the ones that used to go after comic books, but not anymore.
But that's who they're trying to appeal to, and the 12-year-olds are saying, nah, nope,
yeah,
not interested.
All right, question for you, Craig: are you DC or Marvel? Growing up, not now. DC or Marvel?
Growing up, I was DC, although I was a big time Wolverine fan. Wolverine and Spider-Man. Other than that, I was DC.
See, I'm DC except for Spider-Man because He's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's
Oh,
a kid
and
from
Hulk.
Queens.
I loved Hulk too. So friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, he was a Mets fan. He's from Queens. He's my boy. That's it.
All right. Well, hey, let's move on to our parting shot. We talked to you guys, once again, we talked about SHOT Show, and, I got to tell you, there's no real way to describe SHOT Show and what it is like going through SHOT Show and making it through to the end. As Mike likes to say, you don't just go to SHOT Show. You have to train for SHOT Show. Am I right, Mike?
You have to live it to know it. It's
right.
Just, and there's different levels of SHOT Show. Listen, I went to the floor a couple hour a day, people. I went to the floor, all day, every day. Then I went to the meetings and the parties, and if you know what the circle bar is, then you know what we're talking about. So
if you know what circle bar is, then you know exactly what we're talking about. So to someone who has not properly trained and has decided that they are going to join the circle bar crowd, this is probably what the pre and post SHOT Show looked like for you. Yeah, I'm headed to SHOT Show, and at the end, yeah, I was at SHOT Show.
That's it. Yeah, I need an IV stat.
I need an IV stat.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I got
a
couple of times during the week. I know I got, aren't you guys tired, or don't you guys need to sleep? And it was, hey, I'll have 51 weeks to recover when this is over with.
I will tell you, when I did my last interview, and you remember this, it was the last interview on Thursday. Dude, my voice was gone. We could barely finish the interview on that day. Our voices we were both like, we sound like we were like, coming out of puberty.
Yep. Well, yeah, that's true. And then I went out Thursday night, gathered my strength, found my energy, and did 10 more interviews on Friday.
I know. You're a machine. Hey, how about a quick shout out to our sponsors?
Oh, so much thanks to all of our sponsors there at SHOT Show. And of course, the two that have been with us here the longest at Grid Defense and Gorilla Machining for joining into our SHOT Show party, which was a success. And then our friends at the California Republican Assembly here on the rundown. So thanks to all of you guys.
Most definitely. Folks, I also want to remind you, there are a couple of really bad bills that are coming up on issues, not just on gun stuff, but on a bunch of different stuff. I encourage you, visit the link to the California Republican Assembly website. Check out their Take Action page. Go there, make your voice heard if you live in the state of California. And also you can hit that join button to become a member of the California Republican Assembly. And with that, we will be done for today. We very much appreciate each and every one of you. We appreciate you liking, sharing, and subscribing, and encouraging your friends to do the same. Also, remember, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast if you want to listen to the audio version of this particular show. So I encourage you to do that. Check it out. Have fun. Take care. And we will see you tomorrow on Hump Day.
Hump Day.